Hey guys, it's Jim. Today's video, we're going to be checking out a guitar that's unfortunately no longer in production without a proper replacement as of yet. The Fender American Original 60s Jaguar. We're going to be using the Fender Princeton Reverb for our sounds, assortment of pedals to go, which you'll see on the screen when we are using them. And then after we get through the sound examples, I'll talk about some of the differences in the feel compared to the American Vintage 65 that I had, the American Vintage 62, and even some of the Japanese reissues. Before I forget, and somebody asked me in the comments of this video, this guitar has no modifications on it. It's as it was from the factory minus the string mute. I promise I'm going to get into all the tech specs, what I think about the sounds, the feel differences between this and some of the other Jaguars I mentioned earlier in the video. But before I do any of that, I think it's important to say this guitar did the most important thing that any guitar can do for somebody when they sit down to play it. During that demo, I have not had that much fun filming for YouTube. And I can't even remember the last time I had that much fun. This guitar just really brought out just so much creativity in my playing. I was really just in the moment. And I think that's the mark of a great instrument. It doesn't matter what the brand is, what the make is, what the model is. When you find a guitar and you sit with it and it's just like everything comes out and it's just totally natural and it plays great. You don't have any problems to worry about, so you can focus on being creative. That's all you can really ask for, and this guitar delivered that in spades. Real quick, my opinion of how this guitar sounds, I think that these pickups sound great. I know a lot of people don't love them, but for me, all it took was adjusting the pickup heights a little bit to get into the sweet spot where I was like, yeah, they sound really, really good, and they're not something I'd want to rush out to replace. The rest of the guitar, high quality American vintage spec as far as the electronics goes, so not anything else that you would want to say, oh, I'd want to upgrade that later. Everything's really great right out of the box. Onto the actual hardware, I use the vintage bridge because I don't have problems with the vintage bridge. I know so many people, they immediately want to get rid of the thing and they just think it's like this big hindrance. No. Just set the thing up correctly. You're not going to have any problems. If anything, the surprise to me and the one kind of complaint I have about this guitar, it's not the bridge, but it's the vibrato. In theory, you would think that the arm having a little bit of resistance would be a good thing because you wouldn't have to worry about the thing flying off and you reaching all the way down there to grab it when you want to use it. But for me, it's just a little bit too tight, and I feel like no matter what I was doing, and I even put in a little bit of coconut oil in between the actual collar where this thing goes into meet the arm itself, the bottom of the bar, and it's still like I have to put in a decent amount of resistance to it. Over time, it's something that will get looser and it won't be so big of a deal, but at first I was a little bit surprised by that because this isn't a brand new guitar. This is, after all, a used instrument. Onto the neck. The neck is where a lot of people had differing opinions when this guitar was first announced, and I was kind of disappointed by two things with it, and one of them is really superficial. It's the fact that these models did not come with a matching headstock on it. This would just look better with one, in my opinion. And the second thing is they switched from having a vintage radius, a 7 1/4 that came on the American 65 before this guitar, to the modern radius, and that's for all the American original line that has a 9 1/2. In practice here, and after playing more modern guitars, I don't care anymore. Back then, I was kind of an idiot. I wrote this guitar off because I wanted a vintage spec instrument, but I really, really enjoyed playing it. I'm able to get an action that I'm super happy with. I'm not worrying so much about fretting out, and yeah, it's not that big of a jump, honestly. It's not like we're going from 7 1/4 to 12. That would be quite the adjustment, but it still feels at home as far as the playability goes. Feel-wise, the guitar reminds me a lot of the American Vintage 65, albeit it does have a different finish. I prefer the ones that came on the AV65s, but the American Vintage 62 reissues are going to have a slimmer neck profile on them, and the Japanese reissues, I want to talk about two different ones. The older ones that have been discontinued, the JG66s, they're going to feel a little bit more similar to these guitars because they share the same nut width at 42 millimeters. The newer ones, when you go on Reverb and you see traditional 60s and all the beautiful colors, they have the binding, they have the matching head caps, and they're beautiful instruments, but those have 40 millimeter nuts with a U-shaped neck, so it's a very different playing experience despite the fact that they look the part entirely. Now, it's not to say that those were bad guitars. I've had several of them. I think they're awesome. It's just if you're used to playing a vintage spec Fender, it can be a little bit of adjustment to have the narrower nut there. I don't have a whole lot left to say, and I really want to go back and play this guitar more while I have another half hour left, but one message for Fender before I get going. If any of you guys are watching this over there, if you're not going to introduce this guitar back into the American Vintage 2 line, I know the specs would change a little bit. At the very least here, bring back this model, give it a matching headstock, get some new custom colors on it, and I promise you, they will sell. Look at the used market for the Jaguars. It's out of control. This guitar is awesome, and it's a great value if you're looking for something used. It's not going to break the bank compared to some of the older reissues. Thank you for watching today's video. If you liked it, please let me know by liking, commenting, or subscribing. You can do all those things, and also let me know your thoughts on this guitar in the comments section down below. But that's all for today. Get off the internet, play your guitar, and if you're at work, I'm sorry about that. When you get home, make some time to play.